Hi, and welcome to a taping of Stand Up and Fight. Today we are at Trenton Housing Authority, Abbott Building. It's the senior and disabled building here at Trenton Housing Authority. And we're with Mr. George Parker, with Mr. Willits, and they are both longtime residents of Abbott. And so today we're going to continue on with the discussion about the 30-day visitation policy and just visitation policy in general here at the Housing Authority. And first up is Mr. Parker. Can I call you George?
Yeah.
So George, tell us about this policy. It seems to be causing a problem for a lot of people. What's your sort of take on this issue?
Well, it seems like this lease in general in the 30 days is basically dead wrong, and it's not upgraded. We don't get the upgraded leases. They modify it anytime they want to. It's like putting a rider there. Usually they put a memo up on the board. When I first received my lease, it was if I wanted to have visitors, you had to come down at 12 o'clock and meet them at the desk. Now they have modified this in some way and told their security, well, if you want to have visitors, after 10 o'clock, they must come down and meet you at the desk. At this point in time, nobody knows what's really going on with the lease because they modify and put it how they want it. When they take
Hold up. So nobody knows what's going on with the lease as far as their ability to have visitors?
As far as visitors, or what's the hours, or what's
Visiting
the
hours.
regulation. So, because our lease says one thing. Our lease says you can have visitors up to 14 days without notifying Trenton Housing. If your visitor wants to stay over 4, then you must notify them. It doesn't say nothing about I have to write out a pass to get permission to have visitors.
Why do you think this writing out a pass thing came into effect? Why do you think you have to do that now?
Well, maybe in 10 years ago, maybe they needed this, but right now this is a new decade, a new crowd, and it's been modified down. They had to have security. We asked for security as far as the deadbolt locks. This has been brought up in front of the Board of Commissioners 3 or 4 times about this visit.
The Trenton Housing Authority Board of Commissioners have had this issue brought to them.
Had this issue brought up. And one of the main issues was, well, if you have visitors come in here, there was break-ins. It was because they didn't have deadbolt locks on the doors. The doors was unsecured and old. Things that we asked for, we didn't get. Instead of the deadbolt locks, they put new doors. That still doesn't secure.
Tell me more about this. I'm sorry, George. You said that the deadbolt locks have something to do with visitors?
Yes.
And the reason why they have visiting passes today?
You have deadbolt locks, everybody will be secured, and there will be never no break-in because you're not going to break into a deadbolt lock.
So you're saying then that even though the 30-day policy is unfair, the issue of not having more secure doors is part of that overall visitation policy, and if they were to go ahead and get you the deadbolt locks, the building would be more secure.
The building would be more secure, and if they put their intercom system back in, then everybody would know. Right now, they have put up a thing to where all residents must have a telephone, which is not in lease. If my minutes run out or my phone gets broken and I got a visitor down here that's emergency, and I don't get the call, I wouldn't never know.
And why do they want you to have a telephone?
So they could call up and confirm that you're up there instead of they're having their intercom system fixed.
So if they can't get a hold of you, what happens to the visitor?
Then the visitor can't stay.
Do they come up to your door and knock?
No, they don't.
So you could be in your as you sort of put it, you can be in your apartment. You may run out of minutes, or you could have an emergency in your family. You don't know they're coming, and if they come and they can't get a hold of you, no one will come and get you.
No.
No security will come to your door to come to get you to take care of your guests.
No.
Not even to make sure you're all right.
No. It's a discretion how some of them might feel now, but as a point, if they don't feel like doing it, they don't do it. And if visitors, and if security, there's a game on or a Super Bowl game on, instead of they're taking turns coming in watching our TV, both of them will leave the desk, go in there and watch the TV, and our visitor might be knocking at the door, which had happened 2 weeks ago. Both security was in there watching the game, and my visitor was knocking at the door telling he couldn't get in. And then when he did get in, me and security got into an argument.
Wasn't there another instance when this visitation policy was in contradiction to another tenant who was in her apartment 3 days, you mentioned?
Yes, there was a lady named Mrs. Selter. She's not here right now. But her family came to see her because they knew that she was sick. They said it was after hours, and they wouldn't let her come in, let her daughter come in to visit her. They said no, because they couldn't get a response. She went back to her, stayed in her apartment from Friday to Sunday. She had a stroke in the bathroom. When her daughter came up to visit us, it was after hours that she couldn't come up. She tried to explain to the security that my mother's up there. I know she's up there, she's sick, you know. They said, well, I'm sorry, there's nothing I could do. Nobody went up there. So she waited until the next day. Her pastor came up there, or a deacon came up there with her. Said, well, nobody answered the door, so you still can't go up there. So she ended up going back to her pastor. Her pastor came over and threatened security to go up there to see. When they opened the door, they found her in the bathroom, slumped over. She was almost dead. They called the ambulance. When I brought this up, because this is senior and disability, that they need to where these residents is older, when their family come here and they know that my mother's sick, nobody's answered, they need to be able to go up there and have this door open to find out is he, because they found 4 or 5 or several times that different residents have died. You expect older people, they're going to die. They're here, they're older, and they're going to die. So if their family comes and doesn't get a telephone, they want to know what's the matter. They know that they're in here. And this tell you one thing, security. Well, if she doesn't answer the phone, I'm sorry. To me, I would really like to see him charged with involuntary manslaughter if you do not let them up there to see about their parents. When they know that their parents is up there and they say, well, we don't get a telephone call, nobody else, she might run out of minutes, anything. You never know. But every time they bring it up in front of the Board of Commissioners, they go by this, and this is not on the lease.
Right. Why do you think the Board of Commissioners has so much power over your ability to have guests?
That is a good question, because I didn't ask that, and we done wrote memos several times, and it's been brought up several times, and every time we bring it up, they refuse to really give us a direct answer.
How long have you been fighting this issue of visitation?
This has been going on for at least 6 years since I've been here, but they've been in violation of the lease for over 2 decades when I come to find out different things. People have been banned because they stayed over hours, which they said.
You mean banned, they can't ever come back?
Yes.
Be let in?
And some of the residents are older, they need their family to help them carry groceries up. And one issue they had lately was they had shopping carts, so when their people come down, they take the shopping cart out so they can bring all the groceries up. They took all the shopping carts. How can a 80, 90-year-old lady carry 7 or 8 bags out there? She can't carry 1 bag at a time. But it's ridiculous the way they do it. And they have a heating problem. Sometimes the heat works, sometimes it doesn't. And the more we complain, the more they pick out. And just like I was one of the ones that says, if you don't stop back up complaining, you can't get evicted. If we don't bring this to it, because this is how Trent intimidates a lot of these residents here. because they're afraid. And then several times, residents call up, and the first thing, property management, well, who was that that called up? That is none of their business. If we have a legitimate thing, it's not who called up, it's what is the problem, why we're calling up.
Why do you think that, and I know we're going to get to Mr. Willis in a minute, but I'm curious as to your opinion as to why nobody outside of the Trenton Housing Authority has helped in this issue? Why do you think the Trenton Housing Authority is allowed to just act and do these things with no repercussions or no consequences? Or do you think, well, I know you think that they deserve consequences.
We have tried to bring this to court. We have went so many different ways. We have wrote Shirley Turner, Bonnie Watson Coleman, we have wrote mayors, everybody that you could think of. We wrote Civil Liberty, NACP. Everybody, it seems like they're scared to say anything. We went down to legal aid. We met somebody from the Bar Association. Every which way that we have tried, we wrote letters to HUD. We had sent some to Washington as far as this. Every which way we have went, it seems like we're talking to a wall.